I've been operating under the assumption that masks, maybe because I haven't been following the literature super closely. I've been operating under the assumption that masks might do something, but it's pretty minimal.
Okay, I firmly believe they don't do a thing on average, like the way that they're worn and on average. So, like, if I happen to had COVID, by the way, I haven't had it as far as I know.
Mm.
I'm assuming I'm one of the many people who had cross T cell immunity or whatever it's called, and whose natural immune system was ready for it 2 years ago. And just if anything was a little cold that I didn't notice. But you can't know that. So if I had COVID unknowingly and would go into a store or other circumstances, and I had to sneeze and had my mask on, maybe it would prevent that
Mm.
extra viral load that could infect someone else. From what I understand, the aerosol part of uh, the particles that you breathe in and out, that just stays around in indoor rooms forever, almost, for hours. So and of course that bypasses the regular masks that you were wearing. That to me seems pretty clear. I haven't looked very closely into the literature, because it's just, to me, it's obvious that these
Mm.
masks don't do enough, let's say, I say they don't do anything in the sense
Mm.
of nothing significant that would change the course of events. And really, like, could it save one life? Well, of course, lots of things can save one life, but it could also cost a life. So, for example, if the mask works and you do not give the virus to another person that is exposed to it, gets their immune system to fight it off and become immune to further infection. And that person that you did not make naturally immune might then later pick up the virus, get severely sick, and infect their elderly patient and parent. And therefore, you've killed them by wearing a mask. Like, are we going to get into that kind of arguments, like about who affects their
Yeah.
friends and neighbors and their fellow humans life? Like, that's not possible, and that's philosophers could maybe tell us that, or
Hmm.
ethicists about
It seems to me that maybe enforcing mask mandates in smaller areas, very congested areas, and then allowing people to slowly build up an immunity in less viral load intensive environments might have been a better strategy. Because if you're in a Costco or a supermarket, if you're getting exposed to the virus, are you getting exposed to as much as if you were on a bus? Probably not, right? And then that kind of gives your body, if you don't get infected by it, gives your body an opportunity to build up an immunity to some part of the the antibody profile. I'm getting this information, I believe, from Stephen Pellick, who studies this stuff in depth. And maybe I'm paraphrasing, but he's made that case that, or he's shown that you can be immune to part of the virus without ever getting the virus, without ever actually being infected, just through mild exposure.
yeah, two things. One, this we I think this points to the fact that things are not black and white here, right? So
Hmm.
it's not virus, no virus, or infected, not infected. There's degrees to this, from what I can understand. And this is, I kind of have a bit of expertise in that, if I can claim that, from having studied systems sciences as my It's my master's equivalent degree from
Hmm.
Germany. The systems evolve and are complex. You can never really understand all the interactions, and things are not black and white in natural life, right? Yeah, the viral load, I guess, is a metric that kind of tries to speak to that. And again, like you said, I don't really know the details, but to me, like thinking, people are made to think that if they encounter a carrier of the virus, they will get infected, and some think they will die.
Hmm.
So some of my colleagues at the university seem to think that if there is an infected student attending their class, and I'm not going to say it, but they also link it to another aspect of the students, let's say medical status, then they will have to get to hospital as a result, the professor, and be on respirator and die. But, I think probably in 99% of these encounters, the passage of the virus is not gonna generate severe disease because of things to do with the viral load and the airflow at the moment and the environment.
Hmm.
And you did speak about the environment. So, but one consequence of what you suggested as perhaps a model of understanding and, well, I guess environments in the context of transmission, it would lead to keeping large stores open and closing small stores, right? But then
Mm.
you'll get into questions about economics and social policy and, survival of small store owners and so on. And um, that's problematic. Then I also have to think of air travel. So right now, there's two different reasons that I can't travel. In Canada, as probably the only country more or less in the world where millions of people are trapped, and one of them is masks on the planes. And meanwhile, the American airlines are saying that, in contrast to all other environments in the plane, the air is exchanged completely so frequently that it's the most secure environment, at least theoretically.
That's surprising, actually, because intuitively you would think that a plane is the place to wear a mask. It's the place where people from all over the world are coming together. You could have somebody from Hong Kong, somebody from Toronto, somebody from Mexico City, all on the same plane, right? And you'd think that that would be the place of highest transmission intuitively. But you're right. If the air is cycling like that, that's a completely other variable that people don't really take into account intuitively.
And I wanted something else about the transmission and measures. I guess I really don't like that you're suggesting that maybe masks are reasonable in some circumstances. So what would the alternative be, though? I think the alternative is to do what we did or were supposed to do always until 2019, which is to stay at home if and only if we are sick or if we feel sick. Maybe we need to learn to pay a bit better attention to what our bodies tell us. And if we start feeling sick, maybe stay at home a day earlier than we used to do, right? Now that we're more alert to, I guess, the existence of respiratory viruses. Um, that's pretty much all. I mean, I'm pretty good at hand washing since I had a child. Years ago, you kind of learn to pay attention to kind of what's clean and what's not clean, and what to touch after what. And I mean, in the West, where we have basic hygiene, flowing water, and all, and are lucky to have that. I think that's all
Mm.
that's needed to stay as safe, for everyone to stay as safe as they can.